All right, let's talk about Azure Storage Actions. We're going to dive into this really powerful service that basically acts like an automated janitor for your data, cleaning up all that cloud chaos without you having to write a single line of code.
So, if you're working with cloud storage, does this feel familiar? You're just swimming in petabytes, maybe even exabytes of data, and trying to manage it all feels totally impossible. Trust me, you're not alone. It's a huge challenge for pretty much everyone.
Are you spending your free time running manual scripts just to move old files around? Or maybe you're trying to keep up with custom scripts for data retention policies. We've all been there, right? It's so tedious, it's super error-prone, and honestly, it's just a massive time sink for your whole team.
Okay, so here's the game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with that data headache we all know and love. Then we'll introduce the code-free solution and break down how it actually works. After that, we'll see how to put it into action, cover the important stuff like monitoring and cost, and then wrap it all up.
So, how do we fix this giant data headache? Well, this is where Azure Storage Actions steps into the spotlight. It's a completely code-free solution that's built from the ground up to automate all that cleanup.
Let's just look at the official definition for a second. It's a fully managed platform, which is key. That means no servers to patch, no compute to manage. Azure just handles all of that for you. But the real game changer here, the phrase that should make your ears perk up, is without writing any code. This is all about configuration, not custom development.
Honestly, the best way to think about this is like having a super smart, automated janitor for your data. You just give it a chore list, a set of rules, and it goes to work, tidying up your storage accounts around the clock, doing exactly what you told it to.
So, what kind of chores can this data janitor actually do for you? Well, all the boring, tedious ones you hate doing. Imagine automatically moving any data that hasn't been touched in, say, 90 days over to a way cheaper storage tier. Or how about deleting old blob versions to stay compliant without you lifting a finger? You can even use it to pull data back from the archive right before an audit, or automatically apply index tags to organize millions of files. It's pretty powerful.
All right, so we get what it does, but now let's pop the hood and see how it does it. We're going to look at the core building blocks to really understand how this service thinks about your data.
It really breaks down into 4 simple parts, and it works just like a classic if-then statement. First up, you have the storage task. That's the main thing you create. Inside that task, you define your conditions. These are your if clauses, like if a file hasn't been modified in 365 days. Then come the operations. Those are your then clauses, like then move it to archive storage. And finally, the assignment is what pulls it all together. It's the who, where, and when. It tells the task which storage account to run on and how often to do it.
Okay, theory's done. Let's get practical. How do you actually go from having an idea for a cleanup rule to having a fully automated task running in the cloud?
The whole workflow is a really straightforward 4-step process. 1, you create the storage task. Think of this as writing the job description for your data janitor. 2, you define the rules, those if-then conditions and operations we just talked about. 3, you create the assignment, which is basically telling your janitor which building to clean and when to show up. And last, step 4, you check the reports to see what work got done.
And this right here gets to the service's biggest selling point. The source material puts it perfectly. The easiest way to compose conditions is by using a visual designer in the Azure portal. You don't need to be a developer. You literally just click and configure. You can even preview what your rules will do before you hit save. It's awesome.
Now, this is a really key thing to remember. A task by itself is just a blueprint. It doesn't actually do anything. It's the assignment that brings it to life. The assignment is the trigger that says, okay, take this set of rules and apply it to this specific storage account, and I want you to run it every Monday at 1 a.m.
All right, now for the nitty-gritty. Once your tasks are up and running, how do you keep tabs on them? And the million-dollar question, what's it going to cost? Let's get the full picture. You actually get really deep visibility into every single run. The Tasks Overview page gives you these nice high-level charts showing how many blobs were scanned and how many were changed. But you can also drill down into each specific run. And for the ultimate level of detail, you can dig into the execution reports, which give you a line-by-line breakdown of what happened to every single object.
And your automation doesn't have to stop there, which is really cool. Storage Actions plays nicely with the rest of Azure. When a task finishes, it can send out an event through Azure Event Grid. That means you can kick off other workflows, like running an Azure function for some post-processing, or sending a notification with a Logic app. You can build some really powerful end-to-end automations this way.
Okay, let's talk about money. The cost is broken down into 3 really simple parts. First, there's a charge for each task execution. Just think of this as paying the janitor to show up for their shift. Second, you are billed for the number of objects scanned. This is charged per million objects your task looks at. So this is like paying for the time the janitor spends walking the hallways and checking every single door to see if it needs cleaning. And finally, you pay for the operations that are actually performed. This is a charge per million actions. So, every time a file is moved, tagged, or deleted, this is the cost for the actual cleanup work. So it's execution, scanning, and operations. That's it. Simple.
So let's wrap this all up. We've seen the what and the how, but why does any of this really matter? What does this mean for you and for your team on a day-to-day basis?
Let's just boil it down to the absolute key takeaways. Number 1, you can finally automate those mind-numbing repetitive data management tasks with 0 code required. 2, you can seriously cut your storage costs by using intelligent policies. 3, you get powerful, consistent, policy-based control over your data. And maybe most importantly, you get to give your developers and your operators their time back so they can focus on stuff that actually matters, not cleanup.
And that really just leaves us with one final question to think about. I want you to look at your own storage accounts. Think about all the manual processes, all the cleanup scripts you have to maintain, and ask yourself, what is the very first, most tedious task you would hand over to your new automated data janitor?